Hi, I'm Melinda Bam, and today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my best kept secrets thus far. And one of the questions that I've been getting on Instagram the most often, and that is, how do I get my hair to have so much volume that actually stays throughout the day? This is your She Nation beauty tutorial. One of the questions that I have been getting on Instagram the most often is, how do I get my hair to be so voluminous and bouncy and sustain that volume throughout the day? Now, let's just begin by saying that I really don't have the fullest head of hair and that my hair is actually quite fine and very limp at best. So I've really had to develop a few different skills to make sure that my hair can actually look like a beauty queen, even though I don't have the hair on my head that wants to feel like a beauty queen. I've always giggled at beauty queens who said that the higher the hair, the closer to heaven. And I've always just felt like, seriously, Lord, why didn't you give me like that kind of hair that just stays there? But I have to say that once you've mastered all of the tips that I'll be sharing today, that we should be a little bit closer to heaven. So the first tip that I want to share is that washing your hair is really probably the most important step in creating the foundation for hair that really wants to be voluminous and bouncy and quite airy throughout the day. So if you have hair that is very oily, make sure that you wash with a shampoo that's not going to add extra hydration or nourishment to your roots that will weigh your hair down. Use a shampoo that is for voluminous hair, for hair that is quite oily. Make sure that you don't put a mask or conditioner all the way through to your roots. Keep it to your ends and to the parts of your hair that is the most coarse. My hair is quite seasonal, so I use the Gary Rom Blonde Brilliance range, which is fantastic because it gives me the nourishment that I want without weighing my hair down. And then, of course, once you wash your hair and you've hydrated your ends, to rinse your hair thoroughly to make sure that there is no conditioner left on your hair, no mask left on your roots or anywhere. Your hair should feel quite coarse when you've washed and rinsed your hair out. And don't worry that your hair is going to be very dry. You will be adding heat protection before you style your hair that will make sure that your ends are protected and well nourished. The next step is to put heat protection on your hair, but the key is in how you actually dry your hair. Now, most ladies that I've seen in the salon sometimes, or even at home, sit upright and then they blow dry their hair. But the thing that you want to do is you want to create almost like an anti-gravity effect in your roots. So if you're going to be blow drying your hair downward, your hair is going to stay downward. So you want to kind of reverse the process. So over the years, I've become quite used to blow drying my hair upside down, so my neck doesn't really get that stiff anymore. But if it is quite strenuous to you, lie in your bed, throw your head or push your head to the edge of the bed, lie backwards so that your hair falls away from your head. So that it's not a completely upside down motion, but that you're actually blow drying your hair in the opposite end of what it's naturally going to fall. Make sure that you do add a little bit of heat to it so that it does evaporate all the moisture and that it also doesn't stick to your scalp when you've blow dried your hair. So I do this completely upside down. I don't care too much about a stiff neck. I blow dry my hair and make sure that it's rapid motion so that it really does loosen up the hair and loosen up the root. And then the most important thing is that you cool your hair down in that same position. So in the opposite motion, dry your hair, and in the opposite motion, cool down your hair, because that just really sets the root in a voluminous position. There are fantastic root lifting products on the market. You get all sorts of powders that you can rub into your scalp, and you get root lifting serums. One of my favorites is the Gary Rom's Root Lifting Foundation Spray, which has really been my little secret weapon on the road or when I need to travel or need to make sure that my hair really does stay voluminous for a good 2 days. What you do is you spray this foundation spray on your crown, close to the root of your hair, and then also in 2 sections downward, and make sure that you really rub in that product onto your scalp and onto your root. You can coat your whole scalp in it, so you can do side sections as well, and you can add some to your fringe. But the place that I want the most volume is on my crown and on the back of my hair, because that to me is where your hair is supposed to be naturally fuller. And if you can manage to get volume there, then your hair looks naturally fuller. Although you can add your foundation spray to wet and dry hair, sometimes if your hair is on day 2 and you want to still achieve that voluminous bounce in your hair, you can add a dry shampoo that's really catered towards creating more volume. And that's really a great refresher for your hair that absorbs all the oil, everything that makes your hair really gravitate and stick to your scalp. It really kind of just reverses that effect and gives you that newfound freshness and volume. Now, this is probably one tip that hairdressers won't give, but I've been so used to walking out of a salon and just quickly getting in my own little bit of tease on my crown. And maybe it's a subconscious thing for me by now, but teasing my hair makes sure that there aren't any open spaces that fall open. If you've got a crown on your crown, your hair tends to fall to the sides and that creates a flat open space. So what teasing does, it just really sets and groups the hair together to make sure that it stays in that position and ensures that your hair will stay voluminous throughout the day. You might be able to get away with that and still have voluminous locks for about an hour or 2, but if you haven't teased your roots, that is about how long that volume will last. Another silly secret that I have up my sleeve that I've developed over the years is to let my hair cool down in my big blow drying brushes. So if you have a little brush, chuck it out the window because that's really not going to create that big voluminous area for your hair to dry in. So I prefer to get the biggest size blow drying brush because I set a brush in my crown and one halfway down my scalp, and that's where my hair then sets. So when you blow dry your hair and all your hair is completely dry, take 2 sections and have those brushes set there, heat them up on a medium heat. And let me just stop there for a second. And the reason being is when I was Miss SA, the one day I got ready for an event and I did my 2 sections and I put those big brushes in and I blasted them on high heat. And I let the brushes sit there on my way to my event, and just before I got out of the car, I took the brushes off and I realized that half my hair was left on the brush and I'd burnt my hair off. And there's nothing wrong with a method of letting your hair heat up slightly and cool down and setting in that position, but make sure, please, that you do that at a medium heat. I've learned my lesson. Please learn from my mistakes. I don't want you to burn down your hair. But this is still one of my best kept secrets when it comes to voluminous hair that lasts all day long. If you want to leave them in on your way to work or keep them in and take them out just before you get out of your car at an event, brush them through and the volume will speak volumes. Another good tip to create that voluminous, bouncy looking hair is to make sure that your hair isn't straight, dead straight, and also not extremely curly, because that will be voluminous anyway, but it doesn't mean you want to walk around with a big head of curls every single day. If you create movement in your ends, you make your hair stand away from each other. So if your hair is just straight, it's just going to lie flat next to each other. But if you create just a little bit of a wave and a curl in your hair, it creates dimension, texture, and throughout the day as you play with your hair, it's going to keep that volume. So it creates that extra bounce, it creates that extra space between the hairs that you want, which is an essential volume, and make sure that your hair actually stays that way. The wave might die down a little bit throughout the day as you brush it through as well, but just having that little bit of a wave will create dimension that really expands the surface that your hair will actually cover. I usually take about a medium barrel curling tong. My GHD curve is one of my favorites because it really creates that consistent round curl. I don't really like using a straightener for this because in essence, a straightener bends your hair around a corner where it really kind of splits your hair all along the way in creating the curl, where a tong just smoothly wraps it around, sets it in that position, and then you've got a beautiful wave. So all that I do for a voluminous curl is to curl my hair about 2 loops around, or if you've got long hair, about a 1/3 way up, and that is the only kind of curl you need to have a fake blowout that creates beautiful voluminous curls. The last one of my best kept secrets is that more hair is more hair. So when I go to an event or have a big photo shoot, or I know that I'm going to be out and about all day long and that I really do want my hair to be extra full for that day, I like adding a few extensions and clip-ins because you can also pre-prep that. My extensions stay in a little pouch bag, and I've got a set that has my volume curls and I've got a set that is straight. So whenever I need that extra amount of hair and just that extra boost, I just clip in a few extensions and voila. So those are all the tips and tricks that I've up my sleeve and all the goodies that I have in my bag to make sure that I've got bouncy and voluminous curls. And if your hair doesn't move while you're walking, you're either not shaking your bum enough or you don't have enough volume. If you like the tutorial and if you've applied that, please tag us in your photos with your voluminous hair on social media and leave us your comments, and we hope you enjoy all of our tutorials.